She strutted into the lobby like a storm on heels, her voice sharp enough to cut the air. "Are you serious right now?" Karen snapped, nearly slipping on the wet tile. "What kind of idiot mops in the middle of the morning rush? Do you people ever think?" Her face twisted in disgust as she looked down at the janitor, an older black man with a bent back, faded overalls, and a mop in hand. His name was Mr. Lewis. He glanced up at her with calm, patient eyes, the kind of eyes that had seen more storms than she could ever cause. He offered a quiet warning, "Careful, ma'am. Floor is still wet." But Karen wasn't listening. She scoffed, her voice rising so the whole lobby could hear. "Don't talk to me. Just do your job. You're lucky they even let you work in this building." The receptionist froze. Two interns exchanged nervous glances, and Mr. Lewis simply nodded, his face unreadable. But what Karen didn't know was this. Her words had just set the stage for her own downfall. She stomped toward the elevator, muttering insults under her breath, leaving a trail of perfume and bitterness behind. The janitor wrung out his mop slowly, almost ceremonially, as if waiting. Minutes later, the doors opened again. Karen stormed back out, this time furious at her assistant upstairs. She was yelling into her phone, spilling venom with every word, until she saw him again, still standing there, mop in hand, like he hadn't moved. "Oh, for heaven's sake," she sneered. "Are you still here? Don't you have trash cans to empty or floors to scrub?" The lobby went silent. Every eye was on her now, but Karen thrived on the attention. She smirked, ready to humiliate him again, until he finally spoke. "Ms. Miller," Mr. Lewis said, his voice suddenly firm, carrying a weight that froze her mid-smirk. "We need to talk." She laughed, loud and cruel. "Talk? To you? Don't waste my time." That's when the receptionist rose, handing Mr. Lewis a folder with trembling hands. He opened it slowly, his movements calm but deliberate, and then he spoke words that hit the lobby like thunder. "Karen Miller, effective immediately, you're terminated." The room gasped. Karen blinked, stunned, then burst into laughter. "Terminated? By you? Don't be ridiculous. You're just a janitor." Her laughter died the moment she saw the letterhead. Official, stamped, signed. Her eyes darted to the bold words at the top. Board of Directors. Her hands shook as she snatched the paper, her voice cracking. This isn't possible." Mr. Lewis stepped closer, and for the first time, his calm eyes burned with authority. "Who do you think keeps this building running, Ms. Miller? Who do you think sits quietly at the back of board meetings, watching, listening, remembering how people treat those they believe are beneath them? I've worked here longer than you've been alive. I started at the bottom, cleaning these very floors. And now," he let the silence hang heavy, "now I own them." Karen's knees buckled. The janitor she mocked wasn't just a janitor. He was a majority shareholder, the man whose quiet presence she never noticed, the one with the power to erase her from the company she thought she controlled. Her voice dropped to a whisper, trembling with disbelief. "You're my boss?" "No," Mr. Lewis said coldly. "I'm your former boss." Gasps echoed again. Karen's face twisted, a mix of rage and desperation. "You can't do this. I have connections. I have power. You'll regret this." But Mr. Lewis only turned his back, his mop now resting against the wall, like a king's staff set aside. "The only thing I regret is that it took me this long to teach you humility." Karen's fist clenched, her eyes burning with hate. And as Mr. Lewis walked toward the elevator, the golden doors closing behind him, Karen whispered to herself with a dangerous smile, "This isn't over." Because what no one in that lobby knew was that Karen had friends in higher places. And while justice had been served today, a bigger storm was on its way. Karen's heels struck the marble like war drums as she stormed out of the lobby, the sting of humiliation burning across her face. The employees' whispers followed her like daggers. She got fired by the janitor. He owns the company. Did you see her face? Every word was a fresh wound to her pride. But as the elevator doors closed on Mr. Lewis's calm figure, Karen's lips curled into a dangerous smile. "You think you've won?" "Oh no," she whispered, pulling out her phone. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." By that evening, Karen sat in a dimly lit restaurant, across from a man in a tailored suit, slick hair, sharp eyes, the kind of man who thrived in shadows. His name was Vincent Hale, a senior partner with powerful ties to board. "So," he said, sipping his drink, "the janitor embarrassed you." Karen leaned forward, her voice trembling with rage. "He humiliated me, in front of everyone. I want him gone, whatever it takes." Vincent smirked. "You're lucky. Mr. Lewis may own majority shares, but power doesn't always stay in clean hands. If we push the right buttons, stir the right rumors, we can force him out." Karen's eyes lit up. For the first time since her downfall, she felt control again. Do it. Destroy him. The next week, whispers began spreading through the company. Employees spoke of mismanaged funds, unsafe conditions, even harassment claims. None of it was true, but the lies spread like wildfire. Karen watched in the shadows, smirking as Mr. Lewis walked the halls, his calm expression hiding the weight of betrayal. But what Karen didn't know was that Mr. Lewis had weathered storms far worse than gossip. Decades of being underestimated had taught him patience, silence, and most importantly, strategy. He watched, he waited, and while Karen and Vincent thought they were burying him, he was quietly gathering proof. The day of the emergency board meeting arrived. The room was tense, filled with sharp suits and sharper tongues. Vincent stood tall, presenting fabricated reports. "Mr. Lewis," he said with a fake smile, "your conduct has raised serious concerns. For the good of this company, we propose a vote to remove you as chairman." Karen sat in the corner, her smug grin barely contained. She whispered to herself, "Checkmate." But then, Mr. Lewis rose. Slowly, calmly. He carried a folder, thick, heavy, undeniable. He placed it on the table and opened it with deliberate precision. Inside were recordings, documents, transactions, every piece of corruption Vincent had buried, every shady deal Karen had begged for. His voice cut through the silence like steel. "For weeks, I have listened, I have watched, and I have proof, not of my wrongdoing, but of yours." Gasps filled the room. Karen's face drained of color. Vincent's jaw tightened. Mr. Lewis pressed play on a recording, and the boardroom filled with Karen's voice. "I want him gone, whatever it takes." Her own words, her own downfall. The board erupted. One by one, members turned on her and Vincent. "This is unacceptable. You tried to frame him? Do you realize the damage you've done?" Vincent tried to fight, but the evidence was overwhelming. "And Karen," she crumbled. "No, please," she stammered, tears streaking her face. "You can't do this. I was angry, I didn't mean..." Mr. Lewis stood tall, his calm gaze finally sharp with authority. "Karen Miller, Vincent Hale, you are hereby banned from this company, effective immediately. And unlike you, I don't need to yell to make my power known." The guard stepped in. Karen screamed, clawing at the table as she was dragged out. "This isn't fair. He's just a janitor." Her voice echoed down the hallway, desperate, broken, defeated. When silence finally returned, Mr. Lewis turned back to the board. "Let this be a reminder," he said, his voice steady and commanding, "that titles mean nothing if you lack respect. Power means nothing if you lack integrity. I started at the bottom, mopping these floors, and I will never forget what it feels like to be invisible. But I also know this. Treating others with dignity is the true measure of leadership." The board members nodded. Employees outside whispered with pride. And in that moment, the janitor who became the boss wasn't just a symbol of justice. He was a lesson carved into the very walls of the company. As Mr. Lewis walked back to the lobby that evening, mop in hand once more, not as a servant, but as a reminder where he came from, he paused. The same spot where Karen had insulted him stood gleaming under the light. He smiled quietly. Justice had been served. But as he turned away, a phone buzzed in the shadows. A message sent from an unknown number to an unknown recipient. "Karen's out. But the real fight has just begun." The camera would have faded on Mr. Lewis's calm smile and the chilling truth that while one storm had passed, another was on the horizon. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories that matter. And let's keep the conversation going.